My name is Drew Hyun. I'm a pastor of Hope Midtown here in the city, which is part of the Hope Church NYC family of churches. I was participating in the rally, but really the organizers, Mark Rowe and his team at Joy Manhattan, as well as the Asian American Christian Collaborative, which Rich Lee is part of that team. They were really the ones who spearheaded it, and my job was really to come alongside and help wherever I can to be in support of such a meaningful cause for us. Just a couple of weeks ago, one of our parishioners was out of nowhere. He was attacked on 57th and 6th Avenue right in Midtown by knife point. And so I think the rise of violence and anti-Asian kind of comments and racial epithets, those are things that I grew up with. And so to actually sit down with my own children and to be telling them, hey, just so you're aware, there are people that will treat you differently and say things about you and say that you don't belong here. Those things are deeply personal, and so much of the pain and alienation that I've experienced as someone who grew up in this country to immigrant parents, and now seeing those same conversations being passed down is really painful to have to talk about. I think now listening and elevating the story of the Asian American experience, I think is key and fundamental. And I think it's been such a marginalized voice in the conversation around race in America. And yet it's one that Asian Americans have been experiencing for many years. And I think having that voice and that story be presented now as I think oftentimes Asian Americans are pitted as the model minority, and so they can be weaponized against people of color, like, why don't you be more like them? And people of color look at perhaps Asian Americans and think like, oh yeah, they have it all good, or they, but the reality is Asian Americans have experienced a great deal of racial trauma ourselves in this country and even in the church. And I think it's a call for the people of God to really step in, to listen and hear the story and the cries of Asian Americans here in the country.